ABC just announced that they're pulling Jimmy Kimmel's show indefinitely off the air after he made comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination, and FCC Chairman Brendan Carr is directly threatening ABC's broadcast license over those same comments. Now, so as not to bury the lead here, if you're wondering what those comments were that were apparently so bad as to pull Kimmel's show off the air, here you go.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
That's it. That's what got ABC to capitulate and the FCC to threaten legal action. In the same week that Fox's Brian Kilmeade suggested killing all homeless people, it's Kimmel making one of the most innocuous jokes possible that was apparently enough to get his show kicked off the air. Of course, the reality is that that segment was innocuous, but the point is that it wasn't about the segment, it was about the government looking for any excuse, any justification, any pretext to silence and censor its opponents. And that's a point that the FCC's Brendan Carr was clear about here.
But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel. Or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC. Again, there's actions that we can take on licensed broadcasters. And frankly, I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say, listen, we are going to preempt. We are not going to run Kimmel anymore until you straighten this out, because we licensed broadcaster, are running the possibility of fines or license revocations from the FCC if we continue to run content that ends up being a pattern of news distortion.
Think about that language for a second. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. That's not regulatory oversight. That's extortion. That is a federal official threatening a media company with government retaliation unless they silence a critic of the president. And for those who still don't understand, let me translate that from bureaucrat speak. Nice broadcast license you have there. Be a real shame if something happened to it. But what's worse, this isn't an isolated incident. It is a very, very clear pattern. Just weeks ago in July, CBS canceled Stephen Colbert's Late Night in what was clearly politically motivated retaliation. Trump personally celebrated Colbert's cancellation, writing on Truth Social, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next." And guess what? That is exactly what happened. The Trump administration is systematically targeting anyone who dares criticize them, and they're using the Charlie Kirk assassination as a justification. Trump was clear enough about that even when he posted, "Great news for America, the ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. The ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC." That's your champion of free speech, Donald Trump. When Republicans spent the last decade whining, bitching, and moaning about censorship while Fox News was the biggest network on cable, and while they enjoyed massive advantages on nearly every social media platform, they weren't upset over some lack of free speech. They were upset because speech that they didn't like existed. They didn't oppose censorship, they wanted it to be wielded against their enemies. And it's not just TV hosts. Attorney General Pam Bondi said the Trump administration will be targeting hate speech.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
But here's the kicker. She's not even honoring the memory of the guy who she's purporting to honor. Charlie Kirk himself wrote in 2024, hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. So Bondi is literally dishonoring Kirk's memory by advocating for the exact opposite of what he believed in. But it's not about the truth here, it is about exploiting any opportunity to further crack down on any dissent. Numerous people have lost their jobs for criticizing Kirk's extreme politics posthumously. An army of conservative keyboard warriors also started compiling a large-scale doxing directory of private citizens who celebrated or mocked Kirk's death online. Think about the infrastructure being built here. You have federal officials threatening media companies. You have the Attorney General advocating for targeting hate speech despite the First Amendment. You have organized campaigns to get people fired for their political opinions. And you have the FCC wielding broadcast licenses as weapons against critical coverage. This is how democracies die. Not with jackbooted thugs marching in the streets, although don't worry, we've got that too, but with regulatory capture, economic pressure, and the systematic intimidation of dissenting voices. This happened in Hungary under Viktor Orban, and it's happening right now in real time under Donald Trump. And the sad reality is that none of these companies that have pretended to be these bastions of free speech are going to save us. CBS, again, canceled Colbert after its parent company Paramount settled a lawsuit with the Trump administration and subsequently merged with Skydance Media, whose owner, David Ellison, is a longtime Trump supporter and who needed FCC approval to be able to make that merger. It doesn't go through without the government's approval. And then today we've got the Kimmel situation. Nexstar Media Group, which is also seeking FCC approval for a $6.2 billion merger with Tenga, was among the first to announce that they would preempt Kimmel's show. Is that a coincidence? When your company needs FCC approval and the FCC chairman is threatening networks over their programming, you do the math. To that end, I can promise you one thing on my part. I won't go anywhere. I am not owned by some money-grubbing corporate entity that needs something from the federal government, that will capitulate to the Trump administration. I am 100% independent. I'll never stop speaking out. And if you'd like to support my work, please subscribe to this channel. This is the playbook. First, you target the most vulnerable critics, comedians, satirists, opinion hosts. Then you move up the food chain to news anchors and reporters. And finally, you create an environment where self-censorship becomes so pervasive that actual censorship isn't even necessary. We are watching it happen in real time. Jimmy Kimmel's firing isn't just about one comedian's late-night monologue. It's about whether we're going to have a free press in this country or whether media companies are going to live in fear of government retaliation every time they air something the president doesn't like. This isn't the road to fascism. This is what it looks like once fascism has arrived. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.